Hello, everyone, and welcome back to On the Air with Brett and Claire.
I'm Brett.
And I'm Claire. We are back from Cape Cod. We had a great time. We're going to keep the life updates portion of this a little bit shorter this week because we have a lot to talk about, which we'll get into all that in a little bit. But let's do a little recap of my birthday and just our Cape Cod trip real quick.
You want to go?
Yeah, I mean, we can start with my birthday. It was really good. I'm 26 now. Yeah, hopefully y'all listened to my 26 lessons episode last week. And I'm glad I'm alive another year and get more opportunities to learn more lessons. But I got some new ear piercings on my birthday, which was fun. I've wanted them for a long time. Used to be a big piercing person. Now I'm just kind of sticking with the ears, but that was fun. And then we also went to a Broadway show, which Rachel McAdams was like the star in, so it was cool to see her act in person.
Yeah, and it was good, but I did fall asleep a little bit towards the end.
Yeah, I liked it, honestly. Like, I thought it was good, but she did mess up her lines a few times, which I was kind of surprised about because she's she's in so many things, but I think Broadway acting is just a little bit different. But overall, it was still really good, and I'm glad that we went. And it was called Mary Jane, if anybody wants to look it up or something, but it was good.
Very sad.
It was really sad. I cried. There were like 4 guys in front of me. They were all crying. The lady next to me was crying. So a lot of tears were shed, and you were just snoozing away.
Yeah, at one point I think I caught myself snoring, but I don't think anyone heard me.
Yeah, I didn't hear you, so you're probably good.
Yep.
But yeah, last week we went to Cape Cod. We were there for 5 days, and it was a lot of fun. I really love it there, honestly.
Yeah, it was very beautiful in its own way. It's not like a sunny tropical beach kind of thing. It's more of like a sad, gloomy beach, but in like the best way possible. And
Which, that's my kind of beach. I'm not about the heat, tropical vibes. I don't really like that.
yeah, like when it was too cold to be on the beach, it's like perfect.
Yeah. Yeah, but it was really pretty. I mean, I don't know who wouldn't love it there. It's so expensive. It wasn't really that expensive for us because we went still during the off season. But like, if we were to go next month, I mean, we wouldn't be going next month because it gets so crazy expensive. But
Yeah, and there's like how many people go through the streets? Like 3,000 people are there around that time.
he said 30,000.
30,000. Yeah, that would be a lot.
Yeah, because we were in a really like small town. But yeah, we like drove all up and down it and got to see some cool things, some lighthouses. I posted some pictures on Instagram if y'all follow me personally, but it was a lot of fun. We saw the solar eclipse from there, and our room had like a roof deck thing, so that was cool.
Yeah, our room was like one of the best parts about it. Like the first 2 nights we were there, we had a different room, and it was still nice. It had its own deck, or like patio thing, but it did not have that great of a view. And then we got not upgraded. We like switched to our room that we had originally booked, which was the Eagle's Nest, and yeah, that was super cool because you could see out into the ocean, and you could see like lighthouses out there and everything, and it was really cool.
Yeah, it was a really pretty view and just a really like beautiful place to stay, and I'm glad that we got to go there.
Definitely recommend it for anyone who wants to go.
Yeah, but I also definitely recommend going in the off season because you can see it all. There's like no one there, and it's so much cheaper than during the summer. But be warned, a lot of places are closed, so there isn't like as many places you can go in, I guess. But
yeah, so it just like it depended. Like there was kind of like year-round places that were open, which was mostly like the food places. But some of the stores were open on the weekends in the off season, but not the weekdays. So that was kind of tough because our first few days there with the dogs, it was hard to get out. And so we kind of missed the days that most of the stores were open. So we kind of just did what we could.
Yeah, but it was still really fun, even with places being closed. The dogs had a great time being able to be on the beach, which for anyone who knows, Penny like came from the beach. She's our little miracle from the sea, so I think it was cool for her to be back on a beach.
Yeah, they loved it. It tired them out real good though.
Yeah, yeah, but they had a lot of fun. Also, sorry for anyone who can hear me gulping my coffee because Sarah brought it to my attention that you can hear a gulp every time I take a drink. So I do apologize for that.
How dare you?
Yeah. But yeah, also just like the feeling of being in Cape Cod, it was very peaceful. Um, but like when we came back to New York, I don't even know how to explain it. It just made me feel so much more like New York is its own little world, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, and it was weird that it's like home now.
It was really weird that we're like driving home to New York City.
Yeah, and like once you go from the like I don't know, like the small towns you drive through to get here from there, all of a sudden you go from that straight into Manhattan, and it was like it's an extremely big difference all of a sudden. Like the buildings just shoot up, and then you're surrounded by cars and people and buildings, and it is like totally different from where you just came from.
It just feels like an alternate reality almost. Like
Yeah,
there's the rest of the world and then there's New York, which even when we visited here, like I didn't really feel that way, but like driving out of it and then driving back in, it's like, whoa, we're just in a different world now.
yeah, and surprisingly, driving in the city is not as bad as you would think.
Yeah.
You got to be a little aggressive and just kind of make your decisions quickly, but you're fine if you just commit.
Yeah, but we did it. It was nice to have a rental car and be able to drive around and listen to music. Um, we no longer have the car, obviously, so we're back to transportation being on foot. But it was a lot of fun.
Yeah, I had a lot of fun doing it. It was nice to just be in the car for a little bit and not have to be on foot, walking through the city and hiking, basically.
Yeah.
And it was nice whenever I had to go run errands while we were there, like go grab food or drinks or something like that, and I could just hop in the car, go get it, come back. It wasn't a whole crazy process to get anything, so it was kind of nice to get that again.
Yeah. Yeah, another thing I wrote down is like when we were on the way back home, I had a sense of freedom that I've really never felt before. Because usually when we go on a trip or something, like my mom would watch the dogs. And now that we live here, that's not an option. So the dogs obviously came with us. And it's like, okay, we have this car and we have the dogs with us. And we don't have, normal like 9 to 5 jobs we have to get back to. Our apartment can take care of itself. And it's like, we really don't have to be anywhere or like we don't have to go home. Like, it's just a weird feeling.
Yeah, we could have just not come home, gone anywhere else, and it would have been fine for however long it needed to be fine.
Yeah, it was just a weird sense of freedom that I've never really felt, and I don't know if it's good or bad, honestly. It's just weird.
I don't see why it would be bad.
Yeah, it was just, like, kind of unsettling, I guess.
Yeah, I guess
I don't
a
know,
little bit.
it's just weird.
I don't know. I enjoyed it.
Yeah. Okay, so we said we were going to keep that little segment short, and I feel like we've already talked a lot about it. Well, another big thing, though, was the earthquake that happened here. That was so crazy. There was one earthquake in Texas so long ago, and it was so small. Like, the ground shook for half a second, and it was not a big deal. But this earthquake was so much bigger than that. And
Yeah, like I was just sitting here in the living room, and I don't know. I didn't even notice it at first because it was so subtle, and then it just kept getting bigger and bigger. Because like at first it was just like a low like vibration, and then all of a sudden like things in the apartment started shaking, like the tables, the stove, like everything was just kind of shaking. And then Claire ran in here and was like, "What is that? Do you feel that?" And I finally like hit me. I was like, "Oh, I think that's an earthquake." And a lot of people I think thought it was like construction, because sometimes construction crews will be working outside and it does kind of shake like part of the building a little bit. But this went on for just, I think, way too long. It was at least probably 10 seconds or more, maybe 20.
yeah, it was like 30 is what they
Yeah.
reported.
So yeah, it was interesting. I've never been in one, so I didn't even know really what was happening. But we both kind of just ran to the front of the apartment to look out at the street, and then it kind of stopped about the time that we got to the windows to see what was happening. But we know other people felt it because like lots of people went out to the street and they were talking, and yeah, it was weird. And then we started looking it up online, and people were asking, was that just an earthquake? And then people like official reports started coming in that it was an earthquake, and I think it was like a 4.8.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's there's a lot of different numbers, but I think they ended up landing on a 4.8. So
Which isn't like a giant earthquake, but it's also not small. And especially
Yeah.
since we don't come from a place that like experiences earthquakes frequently, it definitely terrified me because I just thought our building was like crumbling to the ground because our building is 100 years old and I could see that happening, honestly.
and it felt like something was just wrong in the building because it was just like it felt like it was just going down or going side to side or something because it was just a lot of movement all of a sudden.
Yeah. So that was kind of terrifying, especially because New York isn't really known as a place that frequently gets earthquakes. So it was just super unexpected. And yeah, I did not like that.
Yeah, it was kind of wild, but I don't know. Everyone was fine and we're safe. Nothing got damaged, so that's good.
Yeah, and now we know what to do next time. We don't just need to run around the apartment. You're supposed to get under like a thick table or something and cover your head. So if it happens again, we'll know what to do.
I honestly would be running for the street with y'all. I'd be like, "Come on, let's go. Let's get out of this building."
Yeah, but that's not the right thing to do, really.
I feel like being under a table, even if the building collapsed, like you're gone.
Yeah. Well, hopefully there's no more earthquakes because I don't like them. I'm not a fan of natural disasters, as most people aren't, but like, I don't know. I'm sure some of y'all listening know this, but I have a huge fear of tornadoes, and moving here I felt so free because New York like really does not get tornadoes, at least not like Texas. And now I'm like, oh my gosh, do I have to worry about earthquakes? Like, I need to be rid of this natural disaster fear.
Which like they don't really happen here, but like that often. But it still is kind of like what what is going on? Like it's weird that it even happened, but
Yeah, which speaking of that, that leads us into what today's episode is going to be about, which is conspiracy theories.
ooh,
So this episode is going to be a little bit different from our other ones. It hopefully will be a little more interesting and fun. And yeah, we just thought we should switch it up a little bit and talk about something different. And whether you're a conspiracy theorist or not, I think that I don't know, hopefully you can gain some information or
yeah, like even if I haven't believed in a theory completely or like I just really don't believe in it at all, I still there'll be bits and pieces of it that you're like, oh, that's some interesting information, like that does have some kind of meaning maybe, but it doesn't have to be all or nothing, like you can get some information out of it and it can still be interesting and you don't have to ruin your whole day or life about it, thinking that crazy stuff's happening. You can just look at it. It can be interesting. You can believe it or not. It doesn't matter. Just
Yeah.
It's more fun for us than anything.
we're just here to report on the research we found, which we did put in some extensive researching time, honestly. And if you're watching on YouTube at On the Air with Brett and Claire, you'll probably see us glancing at our notes a lot because we got a lot of information in these things. So, yeah, if y'all like this episode, let us know in the comments on YouTube or send us a DM on Instagram or a comment on Instagram. B, if you're listening to this, your comment that you were listening on your way home made my whole day. So when y'all say things like that, it makes me so happy that people
Yeah, it makes
are
us
listening.
feel like we're not just speaking into the void and just letting it go off and it's like, okay, nothing's happening. So
Yeah, comments like that really mean a lot. And also these theories, like I asked on the Instagram with a little question box thing, like some theories that y'all wanted us to talk about, and that's where these theories came from. So if we do an episode like this again and you want to be involved, follow us on Instagram at On the Air with Brett and Claire. And yeah, thanks to everyone who submitted these.
yeah, we really appreciate it.
All right. With all that being said, everyone keep an open mind and let's get into these conspiracy theories.
Buckle up.
Yeah. Okay, so again about the earthquake, it just made us start to think about like what we would do in an end of the world situation. And I don't think we're the only ones that have thought about that personally. And if we are, y'all should probably be thinking about what you would potentially do in an end of the world situation. So, thinking about all that, that leads us into our first theory, which is the concept of underground bunkers. So, doing some research, I found two main, like, well-known bunkers that are actually verified by the government. So, this isn't even a conspiracy. This is like a verified thing that exists, that we openly have knowledge of. So the first one is the Cheyenne Mountain Complex, also known as NORAD or NORAD. Okay, so on visitcos.com, which is like the Colorado Springs like tourist information website, it says the goal of the Cheyenne Mountain Colorado Springs complex was to have an underground combat operations center to replace the vulnerable above ground facility at Int Air Force Base. All right, we are back after a brief intermission. The exterminator came, so that's kind of embarrassing because if y'all could see our apartment right now, it's like a whole makeshift studio, like taking up the entire apartment, really.
Mm-hmm.
So.
And the guy was like, "Are y'all filming a podcast?" And we're like, "Yeah." Kind of weird.
Yeah, so that's awkward, kind of. Anyway, so I was in the middle of reading about the Cheyenne Mountain Complex. Yeah, so basically it said the complex would become the home for NORAD, which was the abbreviation for North American Air Defense Command, and now stands for North American Aerospace Defense Command. So it's basically just a complex that's located inside of the Cheyenne Mountain in Colorado Springs. And it was excavated and became fully operational on April 20th, 1966. And then it says that today the Cheyenne Mountain Colorado Springs complex serves as the alternate command center for NORAD and as a training site for crew qualification. It's not open to the general public for tours because of ongoing operational and security requirements. So that's one underground bunker / like telecommunications center that is verifiable by the government and openly talked about. The second one is called Raven Rock. It was built in 1950 under the approval of President Truman, and it's located on the Pennsylvania-Maryland border, and it's made up of 5 separate 3-story buildings that we know of, could be more, which that's a lot, like 5 separate 3-story buildings underground. That's kind of crazy.
It's crazy to think about a building underground, though.
Yeah, and that many of them.
Yeah, because that's not like a simple little like underground thing. Like that's a whole like complex of buildings underground.
Yeah, and that one is also built into a mountain. And it's still an active site, and it's capable of serving as a backup to the Pentagon, and it functions as a major communications hub. This one, there's a lot less official information compared to the Cheyenne Mountain complex, but it's still like a verified bunker site. And I found this information on whitehouse.gov1.info, which I'm like, is that a real government website or not? I'm not really sure. It doesn't look like it, to be honest.
Yeah, it looks kind of like someone just made it up real quick.
Yeah, but there's a lot of information on it, and there's even a live webcam if you want to watch what's currently going on down there. It just says Site R webcam, and you just
What does it show? Like, is it just the outside of the building?
No, it's like a situation room type thing with like people moving around in there.
Weird.
Which is kind of weird if that is like really what that's for, to have a live webcam. You see it? Right there.
Oh yeah, it looks like the control room whenever they're launching space shuttles. Like it looks like that.
Yeah, so that one's weird, but also I would say verified by the government because I mean, it's a real place. It's documented, known about.
That's the one you said can like serve as a backup for the Pentagon?
Yeah.
That's kind of weird though too, because that means it's not just the buildings themselves. It's like it's connected to government infrastructure probably if it can serve as that backup, because that's a big deal. The Pentagon's a huge thing.
Yeah. Yeah, it's kind of crazy. But now that we've established that government bunkers are in fact real, I wonder how many more of these exist that we aren't openly told about. Which brings us to the Denver airport. If you know even or have heard any type of conspiracy theories, like the Denver airport is probably at the top of the list because there's so much stuff there that people say, like, you know, has alternate meanings behind it, and there's just a lot of conspiracy theories centered around the Denver airport.
Yeah, Claire actually introduced me to this one a while ago. We weren't even looking at conspiracy theories. She just was like, have you ever heard of that airport? It's like super weird because there's all kinds of stuff in there that's just, it's strange for an airport to even have at all. So
Yeah, and it's just something that people... Sorry I keep checking my phone if y'all are watching on YouTube. I got to keep a close eye on my email right now. But yeah, the Denver airport is just like the subject of a lot of different conspiracy theories, and people love to talk about it because there's just a lot to talk about there. But
well,
today,
and you can like go and see it too, you know, like if you ever go through it, you just like notice how strange it is.
yeah, I've been. I didn't really
have
notice
not.
anything that weird. I was also pretty young, so I wasn't really looking, but
More just like those paintings, like the murals, and then the
Mhm.
horse Mustang thing on the outside.
yeah, if y'all are interested, we can totally do a separate episode about it, or you can do your own research. But today we're just going to be talking about the like underground bunker theory that centers around the Denver airport. So people theorize that the Denver airport was built by some type of like global elite community, like if you want to call it the Illuminati, New World Order, whatever you want to, whatever label you
Fill
want
in
to
the blank.
yeah, whatever label you want to put on it. That's who they say built it. So just keep that in mind throughout all this. But the Denver International Airport has confirmed that there is an underground tunnel system. So again, not a conspiracy. That's like a well-known thing that the airport itself actually confirmed. But they say that all that's down there is an abandoned automated... I cannot speak right now. An abandoned automated luggage system. So just some fancy system that was supposed to like get your luggage from, you know, the plane to you, I guess. I didn't really research.
Which I think that's kind of strange because, like, why do you need a whole underground system? I don't. It just seems like that's a cover story in my opinion.
And if it's just abandoned, like what a waste, you know?
Yeah, like they wouldn't just do all that and not use it at all.
Yeah.
Oh, it's weird.
Yeah, so these tunnels are also used for trains to get passengers to different like concourses and terminals in the airport. So that's like a legitimate, also verified use like of these tunnel systems that are down there. Yeah.
Yeah.
But okay, so the theory is that there is far more under the airport than just an abandoned luggage system and some trains. So some people theorize that there's an entire bunker underneath the airport that's designated for like the most rich, most famous, most well-known people to go to in an event of a national or global emergency, which the airport has also acknowledged there are several subterranean levels underneath the airport, which really makes you think, like, you know, what all could be down there to support people in the event of an emergency.
Yeah, and I don't know. It's just there's so many things going on too, where it's just these bunkers are really strange that we're
Yeah.
like learning about, and like we've known about some of them, but I don't know. There's so many different places that they could be at, and it really does make you think like, why are we having all these bunkers built and stuff? And some of
Yeah.
them have been around for a while too. So
Yeah, which that's the thing is like we're gonna talk about a few different ones in this part, but like who knows how many others there really are, you know?
could be Manny,
Yeah,
could be none.
yeah, could be none. I am of the belief that it's probably a lot, honestly.
No,
but
I think there's definitely more.
yeah. Yeah, but also when I was researching this, I found a theory that the tunnels under the airport actually connect to the Cheyenne Mountain Complex, which if y'all were listening before, that is like a verified government bunker / communication center. So people theorize that the Denver airport, it's like 90 miles away. So people say that that's not really possible, and it's like too far to have a tunnel system that connects the two, but I don't know.
I don't know, because like they're building tunnels underneath the Texas-Mexico border with not a lot of technology, and they're making really long tunnels work. So I would not be surprised if they could do that.
Yeah, so that's just something to keep in mind. Another theory is that all these subterranean levels and just everything below the airport actually exists not to keep people safe. Like, that's not somewhere that people would go to in the event of an emergency, but it's actually somewhere that they would imprison, like, rebels, like, in some type of war, or just anyone who's, like, going against the government.
Like an uprising of some
Yeah.
sort. Yeah.
Yeah, so whoever, they may be in the event of a global crisis, like, that's who would be locked under the Denver airport. Is one theory.
Which, what a place to get locked up.
Yeah.
That would be insane.
Yeah. And then maybe like the wildest one and probably the most far-fetched, but keep it up in mind. We don't know. Is that in the depths of the airport tunnels, there are aliens or murderous doppelgangers ready to be released at any point deemed necessary. So maybe they're hiding aliens underneath the airport.
Yeah, and that's where they store the clones that, I don't know, other people theorize that famous people are becoming clones, so maybe that's where they're coming from. Who knows?
Yeah, that's like a whole other thing, but so, yeah, I don't know. There's definitely something under the Denver airport. It could be just an abandoned luggage system thing, or it could be a giant bunker for all the, most important people in the world to go in the event of an emergency. Or it could be hiding clones and aliens. Or it could be a jail that's waiting for, like, people to put it in. Or put in it.
Yeah, I think regardless of which one of those things it could be, it's just a weird airport in general, and there's a lot of strange things about it, and like the people who paid to build it, the different murals, and just it's a very strange place no matter what. And I think it's pretty easy to believe that something crazy could be going on there.
Yeah, I agree, but do your own research, or we'll do some more research and do another episode if y'all are into this. Some people hate conspiracy theories. But it's fun to talk about and interesting. So we're just doing something.
Yeah,
because
a lot of theories, like, they sound like they could, it's plausible, like these things could be going on. You just don't know, and that's the fun of it.
Yeah, it's just important to not get, like, swept away in it. But yeah, so there's some other, like, lesser known potential bunkers that I found. One is at a college campus in Albany.
I don't think it matters.
I should know that, though. It's literally the capital of
Tomato,
our state
tomato.
right now. Yeah. Anyway, there's a college campus that is built on top of an underground bunker system. So I think this one is also verified, but there's, like, building number 22 supposedly has an underground 2-level bomb shelter, and it's equipped to keep people alive for quite a while. It has, like, full filtration, electrical system, so, like, you could be underground for a long time and still be able to breathe and survive, like, without having to come out of the shelter and enter the outside world of chaos.
And that one could survive, like, an actual bomb?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, because it was, well, I'll get to that in a second, but there's even a small hospital and a situation room in Building 8, which this information I found on Reddit, so take it with a grain of salt, but it was somebody saying that they worked there, like, in the past, and they had seen these rooms. They said there was nothing, like, super crazy going on there, but that there was a situation room and a small hospital. So, I don't know, something to keep in mind. Yeah, but a lot of these were built during the Cold War. Yeah, like, especially that one that I just talked about, the one at the college campus in Albany. So it's definitely built to withstand bombs, which is kind of crazy.
Yeah, and like the Cold War was a crazy time, but it kind of seems like we're edging back into, like, that similar area. So I don't know. It's weird that this is all coming back up again, because people are kind of worrying about nuclear stuff again,
Yeah,
so.
but we'll get to more of that.
Yeah.
So slow your roll. But the last, like, bunker situation that I have to talk about, I don't know that this is a bunker. Okay, I don't know, let me just get into it. So the Waldorf Astoria was a very like luxury, nice hotel here in New York. I think there are other places too, but we're focusing on the one in New York today. It closed in 2017 for supposedly just a 1-year renovation, and it's never reopened. And as of right now, it's expected to reopen in 2025. Like if you look on the website, that's what it says. But it was supposed to reopen this year, and that date keeps getting pushed like further and further back. So there's really no telling when or if it will ever reopen. But I found some weird things about it. Like there's an abandoned subway track underneath it, track number 61, and FDR used to use it to secretly get into the hotel to hide like the fact that he had polio. And I think that was a well-known thing, that he would like use it as a secret tunnel kind of entrance, like to get in and out of the hotel pretty frequently. And that abandoned subway track connects to Grand Central, so there's just a lot going on underneath that hotel, and it makes you wonder, like, so why has it been closed for 7 years now?
Yeah, that's a weird one. Because didn't they said they would open how soon after they started, like a year?
A year, yeah.
Yeah, so the fact that you go from a year to 7 years, it just makes you think, like, what exactly changed that they're going to be doing to this building? And yeah, it's at like this little crossroads of underground tunnels that can get people around, and it's weird with everything going on. I could believe that, you know, they would be building some kind of underground type stuff there, maybe another bunker, stuff like you're talking about. It's just there's a lot that could be happening there, because it is very strange that it's not open still.
Yeah, it's just weird. Like, I don't know what the reason is exactly, but I do feel like there is one, because that was a super like prestigious, nice hotel, and for them to just shut down and not reopen again, like it feels off.
Yeah, and I just don't think that they would just give up on it, because like that's, yeah, like you said, it's a very popular hotel.
Yeah. Yeah, and there really wasn't a lot of information about this one at all. So that's kind of all I have to say about that, but it just feels off.
I feel like it's a newer conspiracy theory, because it just is, it's still going and we don't know what's happening with it.
I don't even think most people like think about it really. Like I don't think it
I had no idea till you were telling me about it.
Yeah. But I don't know. That's just one that is weird. Oh my gosh. Almost dropped all my notes. But so in addition to the underground bunkers and tunnels, there's supposedly over 1,000 miles of underground highways in the Southwest, which 1,000 miles, that's a lot of miles. And like, what are they there for, you know?
Yeah, I was thinking about this one because like our current highway system that's above ground was originally built as like for military stuff, right? So it just got adopted into everyone using their cars on it. So I'm wondering if like that's the new military highway for moving things around. And if that is, that's kind of terrifying, because sometimes you'll see military stuff moving around or in the above ground, but how much would be going on underground if that's what that was? That would be kind of scary.
Yeah. Yeah, and even Elon Musk, like he made the Tesla only tunnel in Las Vegas, and
fairly easily too.
Yeah. Yeah, so it's not that hard, I guess, to make an underground like highway system. So yeah, it's just kind of crazy, like all that goes on underground that we don't really know about, and we do openly know about some things, but it's just like how much more exists that they're not telling us.
Yeah, and like living here too, you see how much infrastructure is underground, and it made me really more of a believer that that sort of thing is possible.
Yeah. Yeah, and most major cities have some extent of tunnels or underground highway systems that are documented. Like in New York, I mean, we have the whole like subway system. Like that's so many underground tunnels and essentially underground highways, because that's how people get to and from.
We even have underwater tunnels and for cars and for subways.
Yeah, and in Vegas again, like they have a ton of underground tunnels, and you know, in Paris they have the catacombs. Like there's most major cities like have these things. So it's just like, how many more are there that are unexplored or undocumented?
Yeah. I don't know. I really believe that's my conspiracy theory, is that it's military related.
Yeah. But with all this talk about the global elites running the world and knowing so much that we regular civilians don't, I looked up which celebrities have built their own bunkers, and just to name a few, so Kim Kardashian, Shaq, Tom Cruise, and Bill Gates are all said to have one, if not more, bunkers built, like for personal use. So that just begs the question, why?
Did you say the Zuck too? Mark
Oh my gosh,
Zuckerberg?
I didn't. I forgot to type that in my notes. But yeah, Mark Zuckerberg is probably the most famously talked about one right now because he is building
It's like a huge one.
it's like a 5,000 square foot bunker.
Yeah. Which makes me think of that movie. It's so scary.
Yeah.
But stay off that.
Yeah. That's for another day.
We're going to get into my part of this episode where my research comes in. It was more about the end of the world versus the things that have been built or exist currently that it seems like they're built for the end of the world. So that's kind of why we went into this portion for mine. But really there's two big ones that I looked into because they're kind of a hot topic right now. But CERN is the first one. A lot of people are talking about CERN, and I really didn't know a ton about it. I just have heard about it and kind of heard people, talking about what they think it is. But basically, it's a Hadron Collider located in Switzerland, and they're really at the forefront of antimatter and nuclear type research because they're colliding these atoms together all the time. So they learn a lot about it, and they've created antimatter, and so they're able to study it. But the reason it seemed like it came up in my mind was with the solar eclipse recently. A lot of people were kind of sketched out or just thought it was not a coincidence that they started up CERN's regular runnings on the same day, April 8th. So that was kind of weird, people thought. But one of the most believable theories about CERN to me is they basically, because they have access to antimatter, because they've created it, they can use antimatter to create the next generation of like nuclear type weapons of mass destruction, which would be way bigger than any nuclear weapon that we have now. So bigger than anything that we even understand currently. The other thing would be with antimatter, because when it comes into contact with matter, regular matter, they basically immediately destroy each other, and it creates a lot of energy. It's like a nuclear bomb, like atoms colliding or breaking. And so it would be like an almost perfect fuel source to travel through space. So people were talking about online that I saw, they could use antimatter as a fuel source for space travel, to travel at like basically light speed, because it would be so good that they wouldn't have to worry about, crazy things coming off of it and having to deal with waste and stuff like that. So,
which one thing that I don't think you put in your notes, but that I've seen a lot about, is in front of the CERN facility, they have the god
Shiva?
You put that in there?
No, but that's what's in front of it, right?
Yeah, which is the god of creation and destruction. So.
Yeah, so that's also part of what I'm going to talk about here in a second. But so those are the most believable. I think that would be more plausible if you were going to get into the theories about CERN. And I did put a question to myself, like, could they already be in possession of crazy weapons of mass destruction we don't know about, or these fuel sources that would allow them to travel at light speed? I don't know. That would be insane if they did, and I kind of wouldn't be super shocked, but they do a lot of research on it, so I think that's extremely believable. The next part, which kind of gets into the crazier stuff with CERN, I'm going to read this article really quick that talks about something that it's kind of mind-blowing, honestly. And I don't even know if this article is real or not, but it's from this thing called Waterford Whispers News. I've never heard of this before, but it's titled, "Sorry, but we accidentally ended the world in 2012, admits CERN scientists." So basically, if you read the article, you can look it up easily, but it talks about how they claim that in 2012 they were operating the CERN machine or the collider, and they claim that they shifted us accidentally to a parallel timeline that is slightly different. It's the same as in its parallel, so everything looks the same, but there's information and things that occurred in that history of that timeline that are slightly different. And also they claim that it's a more fragile timeline that we're in now. So that was extremely interesting and kind of a scary thought if it's true. But
We told y'all to keep an open mind, okay?
yeah, this one's wild. I was kind of like, whoa. But and then the article itself is just kind of weird to look at. But and I thought it was weird that it happened in 2012 if it did happen, because that's when the Mayan calendar claims that that the world would end. So what if it did end and we got shifted into this new timeline? Like I don't know, that was kind of wild to me.
I don't know.
So yeah, that was one that was like really kind of crazy. And then also with shifting into a different timeline that's parallel but different. A lot of people, I think on the internet especially, we've been talking about Mandela effects and like the Berenstein versus Bernstein, right? Different ones like that, and they're just like these cultural things that we all remembered a different way but are now different. So that might be evidence of this timeline shift, that we're in a slightly different world basically now. It was different than what we remembered. So something to think about. There's also speculation that CERN is attempting to open some sort of portal to hell or another universe. They could also possibly rip the space-time continuum and send our world, or our universe itself could merge with another one. So it could be totally it could mess everything up. Like information could transfer, I read, from like the other universe to our universe, vice versa. And yeah, it would probably bring about the destruction of our universe or our world. And so that was a really kind of strange one to me. But also, if they're opening up portals or ripping time and space, that would make sense as to how they could shift us into a different timeline, because they would have to basically open up some sort of portal that would merge us with another timeline or another universe that's similar, a parallel universe. This was another crazy one. So if they're opening portals, they either could be opening the portals to hell itself, is what people were talking about, or they're trying to summon some sort of deity that could, which Shiva, that's the weird thing. So it's saying that they could have been trying to summon some sort of deity that would help us or them control the earth or completely destroy the earth. So that was kind of scary, because you do see the 666 in their logo, and you do see Shiva in front of their building. So there's some weird stuff there that if you want to get down that rabbit hole, you can. But yeah, there's some really dark stuff about CERN, and it's everything kind of seems to be in the shadow, and it's probably because they're, if it is at face value, they're just researching antimatter and nuclear stuff. Like, of course it's going to be everything can be kept secret, but there is some really strange things about it that are alarming, I would think. So the other thing I had researched and want to talk about is, and this is another relevant one because stuff is going on in Israel right now. We just had some attacks from Iran on them, and it's really, we don't know where that's leading. So, but there's some stuff about that region, Israel specifically, and the history of Muslims and Jews. All right, Claire had to step out because someone rang our door, so we'll see what that is. But I'm going to go solo for a little bit. So what I was talking about was Israel. We have war going on right now. We've got attacks going on from Iran. We don't really know where all this is leading, but there's a lot of history related to this region of the world. So basically, the first thing I wanted to talk about was the red heifers. This is a big kind of thing it's believed that if they perform the ritual with the red heifer that's qualified, it will bring about the end times in a way, in the second coming of Christ. So there's some interesting stuff about that. There are currently 4 qualifying red heifers that do exist that they're holding in Israel. And they actually came from Texas, believe it or not. And there was originally 5, but one of them grew a single hair that was a different color than red. So it was disqualified. So now we're down to 4 that are actually qualified. And then also there has not been a qualifying red heifer. So yeah, there has not been a qualifying red heifer in over 2,000 years. So we're at a very strange time where things that are talked about in the Bible, and they're actually happening in real life, and we have these qualifying red heifers. So it's kind of believed that this ritual will happen soon. What I read online was that it's believed that it will happen in spring of this year, actually, and they have actually built a huge like altar of some sort, but it's not located in the Mount of the Olives, and which it has to be located there for the ritual to be biblical. But it's believed that it's just a practice altar, because Israel purchased land in the Mount of Olives in 2011, I believe, and it's believed that that's for that ritual. And so we're seeing a lot of these things line up. So it's kind of interesting, the timing, what's going on there, and the fact that they have the red heifers and they own land where it needs to be done, and they've built some sort of altar to practice. It's theorized. So it's weird that all of that is coming together at once. So I don't know, that might be something to look out for. But essentially, if they do this ritual, this sacrifice with the red heifer, it's believed that it will usher in the second coming of Christ, and we would see the Jews go and take over the Temple Mount, which, if they are to build the Temple Mount, or the third temple on the Temple Mount, then that would bring about the end times. That would be it. I guess that's what the prophecy says. So it's interesting because it is now possible more than ever that the Jews could do this, because there's a lot of Christian groups that are helping them. They're financing a lot of the means or the things that would bring about the second coming of Christ. And also, the Jews have more of a majority in that region now more than ever. So it is more realistic that they could take over the temple and hold it long enough to build the third temple. So it's a very interesting time. But yeah, I thought that was very relevant because we're seeing it every day on the news. And I don't know, I kind of believe that this is something to really look at. It could be true, it could be not true. But there's a lot of coincidence involved in this one. So, and it's just, I don't know, everyone is thinking about it. And I think with all of these in general, especially the end of the world stuff, there's so much happening around the world. I mean, there's so many other topics that me and Claire could have talked about. And it's important to remember that these things are interesting, and it's very easy to become consumed by all of them, but we have to stay positive. You can't let this thing consume you. You can't be consumed by fear. And we have to remember that all we can really change is ourselves and our immediate surroundings. So those around us in our local areas, your family, your friends, stuff like that. So I think it's important to focus on that and not necessarily get so caught up in these things. However, if you're good with that balance and you're very interested in these things, there's a lot of different theories that you can look into. You can look more into what we've talked about, because we didn't want to get too deep, because this episode's already been really long and it takes a long time to research and go through all of it. So if you have any questions, or if you want us to do a part 2 of this episode and talk about more conspiracy theories or more about one we already talked about, just let us know.
Yeah, we do have one more theory.
Oh yeah, we do.
Yeah.
Sorry, I didn't mean to end it quickly.
Yeah, we still kind of have a few things to talk about, so y'all hang in there with us if you're still listening. It won't be too much longer, but so our last theory is a little more lighthearted. We wanted to leave y'all not walking away fearful. So this theory is that Sam Smith and Adele are the same person.
Which I actually picked this one out from a Reddit thread, and I really don't know much about either one of these artists, but Claire thought it was hilarious, and so I'm going to go with her on this one to kind of talk about it.
There really isn't too much to say other than if you slow down Sam Smith's voice, it sounds like Adele, which it genuinely does. And Sam Smith actually addressed it, making a joke about how they see the similarities between them and that they've never been seen in the same room together. So, could be true. I don't know.
I also read something that says that they both lost a lot of weight around the exact same time. So that's also another thing that was kind of weird.
Yeah, and to my knowledge, they still have not been seen in the same room together. So I don't know, man.
You never know.
Yeah, but that's just a really lighthearted one that we thought we'd throw in there for fun. Yeah, hopefully this didn't freak you guys out. It's all just, stuff to look into. Do your own research. Keep an open mind, but don't get swept away in all of it.
Also, sorry, we've never had this many interruptions for one podcast session recording, and so we're going to try to edit it as best we can to make it not so hectic, but we were up and down trying to get the door and quiet the dogs too many
between
times.
The exterminator, the mailman, the dogs, this has been a chaotic episode.
Yeah.
And hopefully our video quality is good. We are going to do our absolute best to get this on YouTube and upload it in better quality. If I have to edit it 5 times, I will. I'm determined to get it up and in good quality. So that's about it for the conspiracy theories. One more thing is we're going to do a book club. So the first Monday of every month, we're going to do a nonfiction book club. Because for me personally, I read a lot of fiction books, but nonfiction, it's a little bit more difficult for me to get into. So we thought this would be a fun way to, learn something new together, talk about it as a community, and just kind of get everyone involved.
And just put out an extra podcast every once in a while, once a month, and just have fun with it.
Yeah. So the first book club episode will be on May 6th. That's the first Monday in May. And the book that we have chosen is Super Communicators by Charles Duhigg. So everybody get that book, read along with us, and then we'll do a little bonus episode on May 6th talking about it, our thoughts. We'll probably, research some discussion questions and, yeah, just kind of talk it over. And if you need a copy of the book, check your local library. If they don't have one, send me a DM. We'll get you a book.
We'll do our best.
Yeah. If 1,000 people listen to this episode and they all want books, I don't know if we can swing that, but if a couple of y'all need a book, let me know and we'll see what we can make happen.
Yeah. Is there anything else you want to talk about?
I think that's it. This has already gone on super long. I hope y'all enjoyed this episode. I know it's way different from our other stuff, and we're not going to be talking about conspiracy theories every episode. We just thought this would be a fun and interesting way to kind of switch things up and talk about some stuff that we don't really normally talk about.
Yeah, we're going to probably try all kinds of different things. If we hit on something you guys really like or you want to hear more, just let us know. We're just going to do our thing and figure it out ourselves because we're trying to learn how to talk and teach about things, go over research things. It's there's a lot to it. So
yeah, and we're just finding what we want to talk about because I personally don't want to be stuck in one particular category because I get bored. So, and I know y'all are getting bored with all of our life lesson self-help stuff.
Yeah,
so,
I think we were kind of okay, we've talked about this enough.
Yeah, so we're trying to switch it up. Not sure what next week's episode is going to be. Stay tuned to find out. But yeah, follow us on Instagram at On The Air with Brett and Claire. Again, if you want to be involved in the next episode where we ask for y'all's input on topics, or just to stay up to date with what's happening and when new episodes are uploaded.
Thank you for listening, guys.
Thanks. See y'all next Thursday. I forgot
Bye.
for a second. Bye.